First Sunday of the month. The one time we forego the Game of Thrones. And just never wrestling. Talked with our patrons and those willing to super chat us on because this is all patron hangout. This is all people who support us, and this is their time. And if you want to support us directly, patreon.com/Clix. If you want to throw us a super chat in the YouTubes, that'd be much appreciated, and we'll get your question on the show. But questions today are reserved for patrons and super chatters only. And we've actually got a hot start this week, as usually we don't start we don't get a patron in right away. But Mike has blessed us with his presence. Before we get that started, I just want to quickly address a question that Drew Warren asked in the Discord, which was, why is Texas the best state in America? I'm sure it would be a fine province in Canada at some point. Why do people ask us stuff like that? We've been to like 3 states.
I'm going with Rooster Teeth.
Rooster Teeth is a good reason why Texas is awesome. There we go. Rooster Teeth. Because we watch Rooster Teeth content. They're in Austin, Texas.
So that's as much as I know about Texas.
Yeah. I'm sure they have fine fast food restaurants based on what Rooster Teeth tells us. In the meantime, Michael, floor is yours.
Alrighty, guys. Feliz de Cinco de Mayo. And let's start out. Yeah, I'm sorry. My Spanish is a little bit rusty, but I should have prepared some questions in Spanish. But, oh, well. Let's start out the program by talking about this guy.
He's terrific.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Which version is that? Is that the uncommon or the prize one?
No, this is the LE.
Okay, cool.
And I think I finally found a new friend. He is my buddy. He will be on my team permanently until the end of time, until WizKids makes no more hair clicks. Simply because that I love this trait about the you can only bump up once with Perplex, and or any other type of adjustments to your stats. I think this is a game changer. What do you guys think about this?
Amber, what are your thoughts on the LE, Mr. Terrific?
I don't have any thoughts yet. I haven't seen his dial.
I'll get that set up for you while I talk then. Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you under the bus there, Amber. I didn't realize you hadn't looked at the Terrific, Mr. Terrific. Really? Unit section, you're going to be like this? You're going to be like this. All right.
It's because we want to look at something.
It's because we're in a rush and because we're streaming. I realize that this is all terrible.
He's not there, is he?
No. No, he's not. Let me get the... Anyway, Mr. Terrific is... I think he's cool, but I don't think he's quite on the level we want him to be in comparison to previous versions of a character that did what he did, which would be Nighthawk Prime. Nighthawk Prime had a fairly lengthy dial to add to a really awesome trait. Now, when I say fairly lengthy, I mean he was like 5-6 clicks. Not great, but he also had some evasion on him in the form of his super awesome shape change. Because he had that shape change. It was like, hey, if I'm next to guys, then it's actually easier for me to shape change. So if he had like 2 or 3 characters next to him, he had like a shape change on a 2 or higher. So there we go. Whereas Mr. Terrific here, he fits into a couple teams, but he is 50 points to their team, and he doesn't quite add the oomph like this, like the Nighthawk Prime was. Because Nighthawk Prime was also a very capable fighter. He could fly, he could charge, he could fight. Late dial, he could flurry. Like, I remember always being like, I'm just gonna go for the Nighthawk Prime, and realizing that was a misguided effort at its finest, because you'd always roll a shape change. And then I started bringing Battle Fury to get around that, and then I started bringing Hellcat to deal with it, and all of these things just it never really amounted to an easy out. Whereas Mr. Terrific, he's solid with his outwit, 18 defense. He's able to charge, fight a little, but his trait is his trait still puts him in death range, I think, is the problem. So as an example, if I have a 4 damage character, then 1 shot from the 4 damage character is still going to kill him if I perplex 1. As well, understanding that the rule of 3 becomes the rule of 1, because they said it that specific way, if the big problem we have, of course, is the Vulture problem, right? Let's address that one directly. The Vulture is a big problem right now. But if I do all my pluses to the Vulture beforehand, so I say I give him +3 attack and I give him +3 damage, but I'm only going to get +1 out of it, that's fine because I still have Flurry on this said Vulture. And this Vulture is going to have a 12 attack, which is still a reasonable attempt from that Vulture. In addition, that the Vulture teams have been bringing Outwit to deal with a lot of forward-facing high defense, or rather defense powers. So what'll end up now in the case of Mr. Terrific, he might be very well safe, but you attack the first time. A 12 on an 18 is a relatively reasonable expectation to hit, and that's 4 damage that deals. Even if if you have the toughness, you're 3, he's gonna get a second attack still, and that second attack is a 12 attack on a 17 defense. Even with your prob, it's a reasonable expectation that he's going to hit with a 12 on a 17. It's a 5. And then once I've hit him, Mr. Terrific is gone. And I've gained my charge. And I now actually have +3 back to those stats. Because of the rule of, in this case. Now, that is the Vulture problem. Mr. Terrific does dissuade the use of the perplexes from Unimind, which is great. That's awesome. I mean, the fact that he had Outwit was a dissuasion anyway. He's like, I'm not going to do it. I don't know if I really want to expose myself in such a way. So, he's great, but he needs protection. And I think that's why I don't want to rush to call him a game changer necessarily yet. Because numbers of attacks are still problematic when you play a team against him. Or when you like, if they have a large number of attacks, that is usually in replacement of high stat bumps. And I'm not ready to say this guy changes enough just based on the dial we have to work with and the amount of extra protection he's going to have. Because we also have to remember this is not just opposing characters. This is all characters. And I, like myself and Tom, we started putting him on teams like, hey, maybe we can put him on nope, we want our stat bumps too. And I think that's kind of why all of those is why I kind of put together and say, I don't think he's quite at the level of game changing that we want him to be, but he is still really good. There's the pedestal that people put him on, and I was like, just sit on the bench with the rest of us. He's good, but he's on the level, not on the pedestal, I think. I don't know, Amber, what do you want to add to that?
I think it's actually good that you brought up Nighthawk Prime was the other one that had a very similar kind of trait to this. Now, correct me if I'm wrong in remembering this, because I very rarely encountered nor played Nighthawk Prime, but he also had another trait that essentially made it really hard to attack him.
Well, that was the shape change I was talking about. Because he had a shape change where it was if he's adjacent to guys, he would get a +1 bump up on that shape change. Okay. So yeah, it was really hard to attack him. But we'll pull him up. I thought it was
something a little bit more in depth than that, but
I mean that's why people say if he's next to anybody, it's not worth your time.
Yeah.
Because that shape change would become like a 2+ shape change adjacent to like 3 people, I think it is, or two people. I'm pulling them up right now just to jog my own memory because I might be just full of lies. Because my memory is hazy. I don't have a good memory for things that have rotated because I kind of keep my brain in standard, mostly because of space. So here we go. Nighthawk Prime. His defense was energy, shield, deflection, and shape change. When you use shape change, increase result by +1 for each adjacent friendly character. But he also had friendly characters can't be targeted by mind control. Opposing characters' combat values can't be increased. Okay. So that's a lot of why he was great. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that was the big thing, is that he basically protected himself while protecting his own characters, whereas this is just a very blanket. Everybody's affected by this, which isn't a horrible thing. And 50 points isn't a huge amount of your build total to devote to him. But as Jason was saying, like, when it comes down to it, he's not a great attacker. There's nothing that's really defending him, so then you have to make sure that you're using other pieces to defend him. Now, because of his rule of 3 thing, there aren't too many things that are going to just flat out one-shot him. Vulture will take him out, but Vulture is going to take out 99% of the field right now. So there's not much, like, it's the pulse wave problem.
Yeah, it's like, well, duh.
Yeah. So it's almost not worth mentioning. But I don't like he has no range. He is a close combat character that you don't want in close combat.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's one of those situations where he's like, not bad, not great. Not like he's not he's not on the level that we want him to be, is what we're saying. But it's not that he's bad. If you try to compare him to Nighthawk Prime, you're going to be hard pressed because you have to first of all, you have to make up 15 points to make up for shortcomings. It's doable, but then you have to say, do I want to put him? Do I want to put that work into him, or do I want to rather readdress that kind of thing? So
yeah,
I kind of lost my.
I just want to think. Again, like, not a bad figure. He is going to have its place, but I don't think he's going to affect the game as much as. Yeah, he's not going to affect the game as much as we want him to.
He will show up.
He will show up because there will definitely be teams that can protect him and that don't have to rely on stupid amounts of perplex. Mm-hmm. If you get a character that can naturally do a ridiculous amount of damage, they don't need that extra bump.
Mm-hmm. Or, if you're, like I said, if you're playing a team that uses a lot of attacks, you're not stat bumping, so it doesn't affect you as badly.
Yeah.
Or, +1 is still enough in a lot of cases, too.
It's true.
Empower's good, enhancement's good. I think there was a couple situations with my dinosaur team where, like, I had Empower, and that's enough because they're dinosaurs.
Oh, gosh.
They hit hard. They hit hard good. Hey, Drew, how's it going?
Hey, y'all. Pretty well.
What do you got for us today, sir?
So I asked this, I think it was at Shots Fired or someone. I'll ask y'all the same thing. So, what is y'all's most influential experience with HeroClix? Be it someone who taught you the game, a game you played with a person that you love, yada yada yada.
That's a good question. A most influential experience in HeroClix. It doesn't necessarily have to even be a game. I'm assuming it could be like a conversation we had.
Yeah. So, like for me, one of my most influential moments, probably, or at least one of the moments that left a mark on me, is with Daniel Powell, actually. So about 3 years ago now, I was going to Georgia. This is the first time I was doing Worlds and all that. I was excited. I was very nervous. And I walk up to David Paul Gosselman because I had played him in California a while back. And when Daniel Powell looks at me, Dave introduced me or something to that effect. And Powell looks at me and goes, "Wait a minute, you're the guy." And I thought, oh no, this is how I die. Because Dan's a big guy. I was like, this does not seem like it's going in a good direction. And he goes, "Wait, you played this team?" And I said, "Well, yeah." And he goes, "I love that team." And I was like, oh. And it felt really great to be recognized from a guy from an entire different part of the state or the country, going to a different event way far away from where I was. Something like that,
Yep. What do you got, Amber?
I don't know. Man. I think one of the I don't know. There's so many that are actually just like kind of jumping out at me for this. I mean, I could go sappy and be that like my most influential, like overall life-changing experience in HeroClix is the fact that I met this guy playing. So, I could go that route, but
Lamb. Actually, if she didn't say that, I was going to say that.
Yeah. But I think actually one of them, it was one of those kind of, validation isn't really the right word, but I can't think of anything better. I got a package in the mail once. And I wasn't really I was expecting something else and wasn't really sure what it was. And I opened it up and it was a birthday present from WizKids. And they had given me a letter being like, hey, we just wanted to let you know we really appreciate what you do for the community with your YouTube channel and all of the tournaments that you run and everything that you've done to bring like awareness to the game. And we know it's your birthday, so happy birthday. And they sent me like a package of con exclusives.
And I think one of the funniest things about that particular package is the figures that came in that package, they rotated out and she won't let me sell them.
No. They are still sealed in their boxes in our closet.
Yeah. I mean, what was it? It was an Ace, the Bat Hound, and a Man Spider, if I remember correctly?
And the female Ghost Rider.
Right. Okay, so it was the 3 figures. Yeah, so... I mean, it was cool. Don't get me wrong. I'm joking with the fact that it's not even a joke. It's like she takes it so she takes it so.
It's a very sentimental thing for me.
I was not allowed to sell those figures, in spite of the fact that I know I could get a fair amount of money for that Ace the Bat Hound with a few people that I know. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. For me, oh geez, I've played so many games that have had such an effect on my game as it stands right now. But if it was to be one specific game that this was how I realized either A, how great our community is, or B, how great the person I was playing against, like as a person, across the table for me. It was Rock World Cup in 2 years ago. It was the second to last one they held at that, which was eventually a DoubleTree. Second to last one they held at the hotel before Lucky Dice took everything over. I was sitting across from Chris Stockhouse, who's a regular contributor. When I say contributor, I mean like he often asks us questions. I have met him in person before. Great person overall. I was sitting across. We were waiting for a game, and there was a delay at the beginning of the round. And while we were waiting for the delay for the round to start, we were just chit-chatting. It's like, how's it going? Been a while. So how's the tournament been going? Sort of situations. And then, of course, we made jokes about, well, we are in this like 1-in-1 round or 2-in-1 round. I can't remember where we were. So we were very nervous about it, to say the least. And while we were waiting, just on one side, it was 2 guys nipping at each other about rules and everything like that. And then on the other side, it was another 2 guys just nipping at each other before the game. And I just kind of turned around and I was like, are we just around the, 4 worst human beings in the game of HeroClix? Or are we just that stand out in the game? I mean, long story of my HeroClix career, it's just like, okay, those were just the bad apples. We just happen to be surrounded by them. But it seems like when we get to a high-level competition, be it Rock Cup or what's the other one that we tend to play, like Nationals or something to that effect, we seem to be surrounded by those bad apples in the HeroClix community that people run into. It's like, I had the worst play experience, and it was because of this, and just listening to the people next was like, guys, are you kidding me? Seriously? And one of them was, I think it was up against Chris, and it was teams, and the game next to us, Jay was just against another guy, and the 2 of them were at each other. It was like, oh! I mean, Jay was the guy Jay was playing against was being particularly testy and snippy and attempting to be rules lawyery at terrible times. And Jay, for what Jay is, he was holding his temper fairly well for most of the game. But it was just like me and him were next to this, guys, really? Seriously? It's so that situation a lot. So those kinds of situations remind me that when you notice that stuff, it's like, God, we have a good community. This just seems like the worst of it.
Yeah, the fact that isn't every tournament for you. or like every HeroClix experience. It's
Oh, yeah.
like one of those where it's like,
It's
oh,
mostly
this-
none of my hero. Like,
this-
it's none of my personal experiences.
Yeah, the fact that stands out for you because you don't see it all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like the least, the thing I see the least in the game. It just happens to be in these particular sets. It's just like the games around me. It's like, guys, come on, man. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I take competitive play seriously, but never to the level that I'm dealing with here. I generally try to like take my rules questions like calmly at best, and it's like, yeah, I don't feel like that's right, so we're gonna call a judge. Because if you, this is my like thing. It's like if there's a disagreement between the rules, like immediately you have to call a judge because neither of you is the deciding factor in this ruling. You know what I mean? It's like the judge has to be. If there's a disagreement, immediately it's like, yeah, we're gonna call a judge because we just disagree, and that's how you got to do it. And then if somebody gets a little like, no, don't call a judge. Like, what are you trying to do? You know? It's, so, but that doesn't happen enough for me to be like, oh my gosh. It's generally the fact that like it's realizing that when these elements exist, it's a massive shock to my system. Where it's like, I do not see this ever except when I'm playing against Chris Stockhouse, and it's never the game that we're playing. It's beside us. It's like, what do we attract here? Because it's also the most pleasant games and the most hilarious. I think the only time I've ever seen Chris angry at me is when I called my shot on 5 bad rerolls or something like that. Actually, I'm exaggerating massively, but what ended up happening, I called the shot hard. Where it was like, all right, so my Mary Marvel is based to one of your figures. I need to break away with hypersonic, so it should be a 1. But here's what's going to happen, and I have probability control, but in order to do what I want to do, I need to break away. Now I have to waste my prob on the breakaway. I guarantee, and this is before I've even broken away or declared my action. And then what's worse is I'm going to fail on that breakaway roll, and now I've wasted an entire action, and I'm going to be screwed for this turn. He's like, dude, okay, let's see that go down. First roll on the breakaway, a 1. Reroll prob, a 1. He's like, really? Because I called it so exactly. But yeah.
Willed it to happen.
Long and the short of it is every game I play against Chris Stockhouse, and I remember reminded of how great the community is because the shocking elements are so few and far between. I think I over-answered the question.
I don't
deeply.
even know if you answered the question.
I did! I swear I did. Right? Maybe? I don't know. Hey, Nate Nathaniel's got a question in the Discord, and he wants to know what the best bald sculpt in HeroClix is.
Oh my god, I read that as bad, and I was like, what?
Now, are we saying best bald sculpture or best bald figure? Because there's a couple qualifiers on that. But if I was to go with the sculpture alone, it's Absorbing Man. And if I was to go with the figure himself, it would have to be the silver version of it. Like, as far as performance of the game.
Yeah.
You know, that unkillable Asgardian Mjolnir Uru metal one. But I honestly think the Absorbing Man is such a cool dude, always carrying that ball and chain, ready to beat the hell out of whatever's across from him. How about you, Amber?
I'm gonna go with Eggman from the Batman 66 set because he's just like a bald dude in a suit with a giant egg and like translucent.
There he is.
They say crack. Yes, I love that guy.
Vincent Price, even.
That is my favorite. That is the best bald sculpt.
Fair enough.
Does he excite you, Amber?
She's giddy with excitement.
Oh my God. For a second, I was like, where did that voice come from?
All right, Michael, it's your turn.
Alrighty, so all right, I want to guess. I was going to talk a little bit more about Mr. Terrific, but thanks for Drew to come in. I guess I was going to have a couple follow-ups to that, but I'll get back to that in a bit. I want to go to this next question. Here is calling for Judge a part of a stall maneuver. I know you. So a lot of times when I'm on here, you guys talk about like players that stall and stuff like that. Could tell me a little bit more and explain to maybe newer players how people that excessively call for the judge rulings and stuff like that. Maybe because the clock still is rolling, like you don't get any extra time while the judge walks over and kind of assesses the thing. Like 5 and 7 minutes could roll by on the playing time and everything. Is it a stall maneuver?
I hate these things. You go first, Amber, because
I think it's one of those things where
I'm trying to form mine diplomatically.
I don't think anyone should go into a game of Hero Clix with the thought that a call for a judge is inherently a stall tactic.
That should never, that should not be your opinion.
It should be an instinct to call for a judge for any instance that you need to.
Especially if there's a disagreement for rules.
That's why the judge is there. Now, I'm not going to say that there aren't people that do it, but it's so hard to gauge the intention on that. And, I don't even know if I could properly craft a scenario where it would be obvious that them calling for a judge is a stall tactic. Maybe every single turn calling for a judge may be unnecessary, but then it also depends on the intensity of the game and the level of ability of your opponent. If you have a brand new opponent that there's a lot of complicated things in the game that they're not understanding, maybe that's something you need to clarify. But things like that should be able to be something that you can discuss with them. No, I don't like the idea of just trying to think that calling a judge is a bad thing or that it's somebody is doing malicious, that it's a malicious intent. Because that kind of, it puts you in a mindset that you're going to be against, that you don't want to be calling the judge. You're like, oh, is my opponent going to tell me that I'm stalling because I'm calling the judge? Or you don't want to look badly on your opponent because, oh, they need that clarified. Because I think one of the worst things would be to play a game, lose said game, find out afterwards that had you called a judge, you would have won that game because that fear of calling the judge led to a missed call or a misunderstanding or just, I don't know. I know the first time I played at Canadian Nationals, I was playing Book of the Skull, which was fairly, we had just moved on to, the Green Battery had just come out. So, the Book of the Skull was around for a while. But I had come across a more experienced player, and they told me that I was playing it wrong, and I believed them. And then, so I basically put myself at a handicap for the entire game. I came up to Jason afterwards, and I was like, hey, I've been playing this wrong the whole time. And he's like, no, your opponent lied to you. Why didn't you call a judge?
Whenever there's a discrepancy between your rules and your opponent's rules, you call a judge. Now, if somebody is using a judge as a stall tactic, your judge is going to know. And your judge should call players on this. They should be aware of when it's being used as a stall tactic. And it's pretty simple to check. Here are judge calls as a stall tactic. Depending on the level of tournament, you know the player, judges as a whole generally know who the players are. And then they know the quality of question they should be expecting. And if a player has asked the same question more than once, the only situation which I can believe it being a case is when it's a super simple, easy to understand thing, and there hasn't been a discrepancy. But it's really hard to tell because most of the time a judge should be called when there's a disagreement between an opponent or an opponent or a player has a question about what they're about to do. Now, if player A has in 5 rounds of a tournament at a certain point in the game asked the judge every single time and looking like they're asking them like it's a new thing to them, and it's the same question overall, the judge should pick up on that pretty quickly. And the judge should, by the third time, be like, this is the third time I've told you this. You know that, right? So, you know, and it's impossible to accuse. It's easy for a judge to tell. You, as a player, can't be the one that says you're using a judge as a stall tactic. It's darn near impossible to actually prove that as a player. You cannot accuse a player of something without some degree of proof or some degree of mishandling of an event. And if there's a disagreement between you and your opponent will be quick to correct it if they are actively attempting to cheating. We cannot accuse of cheating. We can call a judge when there's a discrepancy of issue, and there's always a fact of game state. So that said, I do not feel that it is if somehow you as a player find yourself using the judge as if kids are watching, I'm about to use some bad damn words here. If you have found some way to use a judge call as a stall tactic, you are a massive piece of shit and should fucking quit the game. If you are using the judge actively to stall for time, you are a piece of shit, and if you're doing it on purpose, go fuck yourself. You've heard me now. And if you're doing it, go fuck yourself. But, subsequently, I don't think there's an active group of people or an active thought process of people attempting to do that. I would never accuse somebody of doing that, but I would find it frustrating on a number of situations where it's very easy to look at the pack to answer your damn question, to have to call a judge on several easily understood things. If it's something to do with a special power, I generally accept that there's going to be some weirdness to a special power. But if we're talking like, can I pick something up with super strength? Can I throw something with super strength? That shouldn't be a judge question. You know what I mean? Or that should be, you know, a local event. Guy just showed up for his first tournament. If this is a question coming up at nationals,
maybe you shouldn't be at nationals.
But I would never accuse anybody of doing that. And you know who you are, and I just swore at you if you are doing that. And I called you some very not nice things. And, you know, if you feel free to admit it to me, I will call you that to your face. I will flat out do. If you want to admit that you use a judge as a stall tactic, and you're watching the channel, you've heard it, and if you want me to do it to your face, happily, without question. Are we good? Are we good? All right. I think I've. 1 second.
I don't know. Can you tell us how you really feel?
And I held back. I did hold back. So, no, I'm not going to tell people how I really feel. Because there's more four-letter words that are even less appropriate than the ones I used. Some of them start with C.
No.
And I might even pull out the British accent to just add the extra on that. Because you know when an accent is used on that word. It just accentuates it. It wasn't in the first 30 seconds, so we're not going to get demonetized. Oh, God. Drew, pull me into my happy place, please.
There's still time. So, what non-traditional, what is it called? So we're having the Orville Clix, we're having WWE Clix. Are there any other properties that are non-traditional that you think would either make an extremely good set balance-wise, or an extremely interesting set to play?
Now, by non-traditional, am I going to assume not comic book?
Non-comic book, preferably.
Okay. That gets hard because there's a comic book of everything sometimes.
Yeah.
But, that said, I don't know if the Nickelodeon license is still active, but I want my damn Avatar Clix. I want my Last Airbender Clix now. My Legend of Korra Clix now. Because I think for the game, that would be awesome. First of all, the set would definitely skew martial artist-wise, but yeah. Ninja Turtles skewed animal-wise.
Well, I mean, technically, you wouldn't have to use martial artist because you could use bender as a keyword
Well,
to
that
get
would be
around
the
them all
named
being
keywords they
generic.
use. So it's like,
Yeah, but that way they're not all generics.
yeah,
You know?
but they'll all have a lot of characters will have the generic martial. There's still enough characters that won't have martial artists necessarily, because I wouldn't call Sokka anything even close to a
He does get pretty well trained with
so
that sword.
sure, a version that represents a late version of Sokka, sure, but not early Sokka. So I'd have two figures for Sokka.
Also,
We've already made the boomerang's foot soldier. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but I would say his boomerang is worse.
Hey, it comes back.
I also wouldn't necessarily say that benders themselves would automatically go into martial artist.
You'd be hard to argue that, because the airbenders are clearly based on Tibetan style martial artists, like the Shaolin monk style. The Fire Nation is definitely like an aggressive karate style of martial artist.
Not
Maybe
to
even
cut you
Muay
off.
Thai. What else? The airbenders are definitely like a hard. Sorry, the earthbenders.
Yeah.
Earthbenders are definitely a like sumo style of martial art, but it's definitely a martial art. Like it's a hard.
Well, the creators have talked about the actual martial arts that they used as inspirations.
What's that?
Each of the bender types all have an actual martial art that the creators used as inspiration.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So like Bender martial arts or something like that.
Yeah.
There we go. Bender martial arts. So maybe they have the comparisons right here. Martial arts and Avatar album.
And also, not to burst your bubble, there is an Avatar: The Last Airbender comic.
Yes,
Yes,
that's also true.
Actually, it
Yeah.
does. I don't know if it's been listed as canon or not, but they do the backstory of a story of Zuko figuring out what happened to his mom.
There's a lot of after story. Like it takes place kind of like how the Buffy.
Okay, I see that now. Waterbending is Tai Chi.
Yeah. Because so the way they motion and move,
I've done
it's
Tai Chi.
totally
I've
Tai
done
Chi.
that, yes.
Like, how did you? I don't know how you didn't catch that. Hungar, okay. So it's a style of kung fu that's aggressive and stompy.
Yeah.
You see, Shaolin
For firebending.
for firebending and okay, so like specifically, I guess this is my whitewashed version of what I saw.
This is the layman's.
Yeah, it's but as firebending, I kind of saw it as a more Muay Thai, more aggressive, because Muay Thai always seemed like a more combat. But you know what? All those combat arts are influenced by something else. It's probably I saw something from that's influenced and left into there. That's kind of that. Influence leads to influence leads to influence leads to things. And like if something in there was influenced by something prior, that's probably why I saw the much later version. It's kind of like, as an example, somebody might say something. What's a good example?
Mr. Terrific is inspired by
foot
Nighthawk
soldiers.
Prime.
I like the foot soldiers as dark ninjas from Ninja Turtles. Yeah, but that's based on the hand, which is based on ninjas from like movies and stuff like so. It's actually the foot is a complete ripoff of the hand.
That was the whole point of it being called
The
the
Foot Clan.
I only within the last few years came to that realization.
If you are not exposed heavily to Daredevil, you don't know the influences on the Ninja Turtles that Daredevil
Obviously,
had.
the Netflix Daredevil helped kind of bring that to the forefront to me, and then realizing that you get that crossover of the chemical that scars Daredevil and gives him his powers is the same chemical that makes the Ninja Turtles.
According to Kevin Eastman himself, but
Yes,
non-canonically.
Not canonically. It's supposed to be, and that's why
Heavily
you get
implied.
that whole hand-foot thing. Anyways.
Yeah.
I didn't realize Ninja Turtles were so heavily influenced by Daredevil, but then,
Very.
again,
What-
not being a Daredevil fan growing up,
What-
that's...
What's your non-traditional thing you want to see in Clix? Because I've already taken Avatar and the easy answer.
See, the problem is, I will almost always lean towards video games, but we've had video games in HeroClix. We've had several different video game...
I'd still call it non-traditional.
It's still... But the thing is, yes, it's non-traditional, but we've had it before. Like, we've had Assassin's Creed, we've had Gears of War, we've had Halo, we've had BioShock, we've had Street Fighter. Like, video games has been done in HeroClix before. I don't think at this point, I can say that's non-traditional.
Okay. So What's your
I
answer?
will say with what you've given, those are mostly FPS and fighters. So if you have like an RPG, that would arguably be non-traditional compared to what has been discussed.
Okay. Well, I mean, I always do kind of lean back to either doing like a Resident Evil or Mass Effect because I think there's enough things in both of those universes that you could get a decent amount of HeroClix out of.
I 100% agree with Mass Effect. And specifically, I want to see a Commander Shepard with an A and B that is just the same figure, but male and female model.
Yes.
I think that would be cool.
Kind of what they did with the owls.
Yeah.
I need my Thane, man.
What's that?
The Thane.
Yep.
That was his name. Yeah, I need Thane. That's what I need out of that set. No, I honestly thought when you were saying like Nickelodeon, I thought you were like doing just all the Nicktoons, and I had flashbacks to Nicktoons Unite.
Oh, no.
I was like,
if we are going to talk on Nicktoons, there is, like, Avatar is obviously the one you want to go with, but, like, you can get some pretty crazy things in there.
the underrated,
I
say,
want Invader's Zim
the underrated gym that is Danny Phantom.
Yeah, I never watched Danny Phantom growing up, so I don't know that one too much.
I was already grown up when it came out.
Yeah. I watched Fairly Odd Parents after the fact, and there is a very small area after my daughter was born where I got really interested in the second series of Ben 10, when like they were actually like grown up, like adult or not adult, but teenage versions.
Ben 20. He's got to pay rent and his college degree, and realize that all this he's just going to be left with student debt and no job aspect. But he's still also got to fight aliens.
I mean, given the transformations he had, he could easily have gotten into a college on a scholarship as long as no one goes into his room when he's doing his homework. Because I watched enough of it to know Gray Matter was great.
All right. So yeah, Avatar and Mass Effect.
Yeah.
I think how many times have we answered those? I think I've said Avatar 1,000 times, but
The
I've
thing
also
is,
said,
like, it's always a different question. Like, it's never the same question, but it's
Yeah.
always the same answer.
yeah.
But I was also thinking if we want to go very non-traditional, is that doing part of, I don't even know if it has a name, Rick Riordan's universe.
Percy Jackson
Of
crap?
the gods, yeah. It's just a whole bunch of demigods, and you can go crazy with their abilities.
Why didn't you just go easy mode and say Harry Potter first?
No, because Harry Potter, it's like, all right, it's magic. Everybody knows magic. Everybody knows the same thing.
Everybody has psychic blast and telekinesis and 2 clicks of life.
Pretty much. But when you do the the gods universe, whatever, because they introduce the Egyptian and the Norse gods as well. They all have powers based on whatever their godly parent is. So it would actually add diversity into the power set of the figures.
It would just be the same stuff that we already get in HeroClix anyway, because all HeroClix characters are based on mythology anyway.
Sure.
All right, Mike. I don't think we see nothing new in the Discord. So Michael, we're back to you, sir.
Alrighty. So playing off of that direction there, then. Speaking of bald characters, you guys familiar with One Punch Man?
Yes.
Will we ever see HeroClix of One Punch Man? No matter what you roll, as long as it's not a Snake Eyes, KO.
I think we should give him like, jeez,
Or at least 6 or 7 damage printed.
7? I'd say just go 20 damage. He's like a 200-point figure, but he's like he doesn't attack for a couple turns until he realizes, because the whole premise of the show is he doesn't really get into the fight until something has inconvenienced him to a certain degree, or he's like, all right, this seems like a challenge. Time for me to hit him. Like there's that one episode where he's like, oh my god, he's going to attack until Saturday. That's when the discount on cabbage is over. No! Bam! He's just done with his fight. It's like, that's going to be an inconvenience. I can't fight till Saturday. I want to see the Tick before I see One Punch Man, though, because they're both that same kind of comedy era that's taking the crap
Yeah.
out of its whatever it is. Because like the Tick is a cartoon based on comic books that's taking the piss on comic books, and One Punch Man is an anime that's taking a piss on anime tropes. And I love both of them for that, and they're both beautiful. And I think they should be something that's kind of a counterculture parody in the game of HeroClix as well, without breaking the fourth wall too hard. You know what I mean? So it's like everything we expect out of a HeroClix, it should not only do that annoyingly, but it should do that at a massive like disadvantage. So he should be like 8 attack with 20 damage. And ignores invincible because that way it's
Ignores all powers.
because it feels like
Or
I deal
like-
20 to him. Well, I have invincible, so I take 3.
7 activation clicks.
Yeah, all with increasing amounts of attacks. It'll be like 8, 9, 10, 11. Eventually, he'll be able to hit, right? Or he'll bother to try to hit. I don't know. What do you think of the idea of One Punch Man in HeroClix?
I think it's one of those things where he'd probably have to show up as like a
sideline active.
convention exclusive, like giveaway type purple ring figure. Whereas like he would never be allowed in a tournament, but we'll make him for you. But you have to jump through hoops for him to show up in the game. Like, it would have to be some kind of, like, sideline active, like you said, some sideline, where some ridiculous, thing has to happen in the game for him to trigger and be like, alright, fine, I'm here.
4 characters have to die or 12 turns has to pass.
Yeah. Like, something absolutely ridiculous to bring him in.
Whichever comes first.
And he's just basically an auto, like, okay, fine, you have lost so badly, or, like, this game has gone on for so long that, okay, he comes in and he wins the game for you.
It'll be the first character to actually have a physical requirement. So in order to bring him in, you're going to have to do 60 push-ups, run 6 miles, do 60 sit-ups. Or I can't, it might have been 600. I don't remember the exact number.
100.
Is it 100?
100. It was 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, and an hour each day running.
Yeah, there it is. So you have to do one of those each, like one day of his workout in order to call him in or whatever to use him.
Not worth it.
Nope. Judge stalling. No, I'm activating his ability. But think, by the time you're done nationals with One Punch Man, you will be One Punch Man.
My God.
At least you'll be One Punch Man strong. My hair's already falling out, so I think I'm actually pretty close to it.
You'd have to get rid of the beard.
Nope.
That's another 120 push-ups per day. Hey man, I got rid of a whole bunch of beard recently because I hit fitness school, so I'm happy with that.
Well, you
Jason.
gotta stop doing this. You just bring it all back.
Yeah, no, there's
Oh,
just
unruly there.
those edges that I'm gonna trim.
Yeah.
Jason, the cosplayer?
I mean, I think the most intensive cosplay you'll ever see is me doing Max Payne 3 from like the middle of the game. I just gotta find a Hawaiian shirt for that and sunglasses. Because that's basically what I look like, is bearded, angry Max Payne.
Oh my God, we should do that one day for you.
Yeah, we discussed that. We can't find the right Hawaiian shirt though.
What does a Hawaiian shirt look like?
It's one of those, like, I'm talking like 60s, 70s style, like white with colorful. I'll show it to you sometime.
Alright.
We'll get a screenshot and we'll talk
Yeah.
about it. And it's like, I'm still not gonna do it.
And you're like, no.
No, look, you're getting Macho Man next Sunday.
I know.
So be happy with what you're getting, okay?
No, I will never be happy.
Appreciate what you got. You're not appreciating what you're getting, young lady. Oh, yeah.
I even got you American Slim Jims to go with that.
Snap into a Slim Jim. Drew, floor is yours.
So what's the next Ultrachase figure that you would want to see, but that you wouldn't want to collect?
Ultrachase, I want to see, but have no interest in. Well, they already got me with Captain Marvel, and they got me with Deadpool Unicorn, and they got me with White Rabbit. I didn't want any of those, and I got 2 of those. Which, an Ultrachase that I don't want, but would like to see. What do you got? All right, cool. You're in the same place as me. Oh, what is a figure I want to put in HeroClix but don't want?
I feel like there should be like a super extra trolly one. Like, I love the fact that the very first Ultrachase that we were going after was the White Rabbit. You had to chase the White Rabbit. I think that was cool.
Something punny like that?
Yeah. And, like, after that, we got Deadpool and a freaking unicorn.
Who's a comic book character that just very rarely shows up? Just in general. Like, all of a sudden, the Scourge. The Scourge should be the next Ultrachase.
Is that the one that looked like one of the spies?
That's what, yeah, he's like all white with a white skull. But they made the figure before, but he was terrible. Yeah. And the Scourge is supposed to be the guy who killed every lame 80s villain that they didn't want in issues of comics. And were just in literal filler issues. Forcing comic writers to actually write stories without filler, I think, was the goal of all those characters. So the Scourge was like, you know what? I'm killing them all. No, the Ringer dies. And he would scream "Justice is served" when he would do it. So yeah, give me a Scourge. Actually, no, I'd try to get the Scourge.
I was gonna say we'd actually kind of want that.
Damn it! This is not an easy.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing to say because like, what is a figure I want to come in, but I have no interest in collecting. Like that's almost contradictory, and I love this question, but
Oh,
you cannot see it, but I am smug.
Yeah, I figured he had a smug look on his face. I've met him in person, so he's definitely got a smug look on his face, because that's like he's got resting smug face.
Is this the first time in history that we've stumped Jason and Amber on a Patreon hangout?
No, I think I got it. Who's the leader of the Starjammers? Cyclops' dad? Corsair. There we go. I want an ultra rare Corsair. Ultrachase Corsair. I don't want whatever spawned Cyclops. I hate Cyclops.
That is the correct attitude to have towards Cyclops, yes.
What about you, Amber? You got a lot of time on my Erming and Aring and then getting it wrong with the Scourge.
But the thing is, like...
Well, think of a character you hate. Now think of their parents.
Okay, but how many copies have we had of Thomas Wayne?
Ooh.
Deadpool's parents?
But we haven't had the dead parent version of Thomas Wayne.
We just have their tombstone.
Not even a tombstone. It's just the lying in a puddle of his own blood Thomas Wayne in the alley with the alley background. Ultrachase.
Having an Ultrachase equipment, and it's just like
it's
Martha
dead
Wayne's...
parents. Dead parent special object works on everybody because every character has dead parents.
Oh, it doesn't take an action. It doesn't take a power action to equip this, and the effect is that once per game you can automatically succeed at shape change as long as you mention your dead parents. Oh man.
Are you good?
I got nothing.
You got nothing.
I can't think of something I would want in the game that I don't want.
Well, you want the game to make, but you would not desire to have. It would be like, is there a figure that's like, because I think Killer Moth was the last one, was like, finally, where they made the figure.
Yeah.
Right? So is there anything like that left where I'm just like, just make it an Ultrachase? And like, I think at this point, unclicked figures are very lame people. Like, I mean, Killer Moth is already a friggin' lame character.
Or they're too new to end up being, like, it's like, oh, we have an Unclicked. It's like, yeah, because it came out last year. Like
they made Darkhawk. They made Sleepwalker. Did they make Slapstick?
Yeah.
They made Slapstick. Like, the
Twice.
lamest stuff from
And
the
then
90s is
the
gonna be-
Deadpool set twice.
Yeah.
Deadpool set twice.
Yeah.
And don't you be mean to Sleepwalker. I loved him.
I'm just saying, as a character, he's literally some guy's dream come to life. Where this is straight out of '90s stuff. Like, where did this come from? And they've made this as a figure. Like they've scraped the bottom of the barrel when it comes to figures that haven't been made yet. And aren't new necessarily.
Yeah.
The Ringer. There we go. I said the Scourge killed him. Give me the Ringer. Not his daughter. The Ringer. Make him an Ultrachase. Don't want him.
Who is the Ringer?
He was a Spider-Man villain. He literally shot rings that would tie around people. He would be an incapacitate character. Or he'd give him he'd hit a character and they'd get immobilized. I wouldn't want it. There we go. The Ringer. That's the real answer.
That's right.
Just go, or you know what? Go through this Scourge's victim book. List of characters killed by the Scourge.
Yep.
All right, Michael. I've waxed unintelligibly on that. Amber's got to hit the road because she's got herself her early morning shift. So say goodbye to everybody, Amber. Don't just disappear.
Well, you don't have the camera on me.
The camera, you're right here.
Yeah.
You're right here. Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Have a good night, Amber. Now it's just me. Sorry, guys. Where's everybody going?
Alrighty. So, next question I had is that I would really like to do something more with the Iron Goblin. I think I may have asked you a question before on one of the Meta Labs, like what if I put the Goblin Glider on him? Is he with all the new stuff coming in with the I guess the new weapons and things like that? Is he going to get better with age, so to speak, or with maybe a couple more sets to come out for people to start looking at him, not like meta competitive, but just like a really good piece type of thing? Or is this what do you get? What do you think? Is he get?
I only lost one game in Team Worlds with the Iron Goblin on my team, so I'm very high on the Iron Goblin myself. Let's just I'm going to lay that out on the table. It's like, I love the character, don't get me wrong. And no, he's not going to be on any of my competitive teams, that's for sure. But he's one of those, like, not bad, but not good enough kind of characters. So, that said, I want to kind of play with him with the Goblin, or with the Cosmic Cube. Because it's got that, I think it's like a free action to just place him within 3 squares. Just poof out and then continue on as you were. Like, the character, whoever was there just doesn't matter anymore. It's like, okay, you based me. That's cute. I'm out of here. So that would be kind of neat. I wouldn't put an Infinity Gauntlet on him. I think he's got enough of a power set that he doesn't need that kind of boost. But of course we've seen a couple of the gems. One of the gems at best, I think, is the Space Gem. We've seen one Gauntlet, so I can't finish that and say I definitely don't want any of the gauntlets. I think we might get another Cosmic Cube too. Who knows? And I don't want to call it yet on just saying hey, the blue Cosmic Cube so far seems okay. And the Infinity Gems look like they're going to be pretty fantastic. And I can't imagine them not being already pretty good. The Space Gem is the coolest thing in the world because it gives the character Passenger 2 as well as phasing, teleport, and +1 movement. But you also get the added bonus of if you hit with a 10 or higher, you get to place the character you hit 8 squares away from where they are. Just wherever. Like, you get an accidental death trap on this character. I think that's a pretty awesome effect in general. So far, yeah, there's lots of cool items you can put on the Iron Goblin. I think all of them make him a touch better. I can't think of very many of them that make him worse. Obviously, he still has that chance of getting Battle Fury, so you kind of want to make it less range focused as an item. So, if you can maintain your hypersonic speed, or I think even the Doc Ock's arms would be ruthless with him. Now that I think about it. There's a lot you can do with the Iron Goblin that just make him a little bit more fun for you than he would be for your opponent. But again, I don't think he's going to take the metagame by storm. But local games, you can have a lot of fun with that dude and just watch your opponents go, what the hell do I do now? He's beating me up with an Iron Goblin with an item that has no business being in. You know, I think he's even good enough with a Beetle Pod. Because Beetle Pod, I think, is +2 movement. And I believe that Iron Goblin, depending on what dial you have, has Hypersonic. Have a good day. And then you get that +2 movement. You might get a +2 attack. You might get +1 to your stats. Who knows what you're gonna get? Yeah, I don't think that there's anything you could do to them that I would say don't do that, because this all sounds like a ton of fun on this particular character. So that would be my go with. It's just like, do it. Just do it. Put an item on it. See how it works. See how much fun you have. Watch the look on your opponent's face. It's like, wait, he's got a what? You put that on him? What? Why is he so good now? That's kind of the effect I would go for. All right, Drew.
Pass.
Okay. Michael, floor is yours. Drew,
Okay.
before we get started, Drew, if you do come up with something, just mention it in the chat. We'll get you back in rotation. Sorry, Mike.
Alrighty. So then, getting back to Mr. Terrific over here. All right. So if you're saying that he's mayor, he's not the best thing going so far. He needs some help. How about what do you think about pairing him with the Hulk? Maybe the Colossal Hulk. Can you hide him behind there somehow? All right. So if he needs, like, you said that he needs like a heavy hitter to be paired with, okay, or that Asgardian armor Hulk, like it, or a Hulk with the one that gets really ticked off every time you hit him. You increase the stats, but give him a anger token and stuff like that, and increase the stats. So that's another heavy hitter Hulk like it. Would you recommend trying the team with the Hulk with Mr. Terrific? Or
I think where I was going with trying to what you want to put Mr. Terrific behind, you kind of want to, the goal with him, you want to spend a little bit more time on protecting him, in a sense that, like, not letting your opponent get to him. A big character like the Hulk could definitely help that a great deal. Or something along the lines of, I don't know if we have anything active in the metagame right now along the lines of Anaconda, where you can stop a character from multiple squares away. I feel like we have something, but I don't know what it is off the top of my head. And I'm just saying Anaconda in the past tense because I think she swaps out in July because she's in Deadpool. But your goal would be, it's less about like putting a heavy hitter in front of him, because they're going to walk around that guy and just kind of go for the Mr. Terrific. What I want to emphasize is you want more meaty targets, too many targets to have to deal with, than just, a big dude. Because a big dude is going to be able to take advantage of the not needing +1s. But a lot of Hulks, they tee off with super strength, with objects. You kind of want that, you know what I mean? So if I was to build a team with him, I'd probably lean towards scientists, and I would look at the kind of tool set you get out of scientists. And like, I think 90 points of my team would be Mr. Terrific and Mr. Oz, just on the disruption that they include. In addition to having that kind of disruption, you also add a source of probability control, and I don't think he has perplex, but it's a long distance probability control. Like, I think it's a 12 range, ignores maps probability control, which is baller at its finest. And then from there, kind of see what you can come up with. That Hulk that you mentioned, I don't think is a scientist, but might be. Hulks tend to flip flop in between being scientists and not being scientists, depending on the mode or version that they're looking for. And then kind of building with that base and going out from there. You could also go with a Justice Society team, because recent discoveries, Black Adam is a Justice Society team member. Surprise! And you're building off a team. And a 200-point version of him, that's, he doesn't care about the loss of stat bonus, I think, because even though he does have super strength, you can charge with exploit weakness for 4 damage with him already. And with a 12 attack, he doesn't need a great deal of help. I think he's doing just fine on his own. And of course, he's also quintessence, so he's pretty outwit proof. Very outwit proof. And he's also mystic, so it forces your opponent to kind of look at him and go, I got a long dial to get through, and I'm going to have to take damage for it. Because as much as we crap on mystics, there's not that much invincible in the strong, in the long term of the metagame. Like, it's not as dominant as we give it credit for. We give Invincible way too much credit, I think, sometimes for existing, and I think the Mystics is a little stronger. I think its weakness right now is that it's not copyable, because we took for granted how much we were just. I think from day one, the second we got a Mystics character, we were wildcarding it. We were waiting, because I remember the first DC set, which was Hyper Time. I don't think it actually had very many Mystics character, but Mystics was on the pack for this set, and I just want to kind of take a quick stare down at it, because it doesn't. I think no. I'm just kind of quickly going through it. It doesn't look like there's any mystics in the uniques. I don't even think there was a mystical type character in the set. Nah, not even Hawk and Dove. Yeah, so like they had this team ability, and they didn't include it yet. I don't even think. Was it in? It might have been in Cosmic Justice that we got our first dude with it in the set. I don't think it was Despero. It was Mordrew. I think Mordrew was the first Mystic guy we had, and then we were off to the races, wildcarding the crap out of Mordrew, because wildcards were plenty back in the day. Now they're not so much. Anyway, I'm off topic. Black Adam shares keyword, so you can build around that. You can throw in a Billy Bastion. It's 1 perplex. That's all you need. And if you want to turn him into Shazam later, no problem with that, right? That's kind of the direction I would point it as. Keep to the theme, pop them in there as part of a theme team, and just if you want to go for a big target, the Black Adam's an option. The Hulk is also an idea you can go with, because people are going to need help dealing with that Hulk, and a lot of the times the power set that he'll have benefits from having that lack of bonus that they're going to get. The direction I would go in is probably just a generally larger team format that can really benefit from not dying all the time with, smaller dudes that might be able to take a shot or two now that you've reduced the damage reducer, or at least reduced the attack bonus that figures might get. And I think in what I was saying, the only character that really gets a defense modifier in the combat reflexes would have been Black Adam. He gets it late in the dial, but by then he's got Flurry, Steel Energy, I think, on those Clix as well. So got a lot of options in that case. So yeah, Hulk, good idea. Black Adam, better idea. Possibly. I don't know. I'm not going to say it necessarily is. I played him once and I fell in love. I was already kind of in love with the character Black Adam. Fell in love with the preview of him, and then I played with him, and I think it became my second relationship that I might have children with that I can't tell Amber about. So, I like him a lot. The thing you also have to be aware of is with that Hulk on the board, now you have 2 targets that you don't want as part of the game in there, because were you talking about Earth X Hulk as the initial?
No. Yeah. Well, I guess that could work too, but I was talking about the Avengers Infinity Hulk with the 2x2
that
base.
one.
Yeah, like that, and
that one would be a nightmare to have to deal with. Because like if you go with just that Hulk, I think that Hulk has, it's not the 350 point. You can go with the 250 point dial. That last dial with a stop click and Steel Energy is everybody's nightmare. And the fact that they're not going to get attack boosts and stuff like that, he's just not protected from Outwit, I think is... Wait, hold on. When he's targeted by Outwit or opposing roll... Okay, so you might be able to protect yourself from Outwit, but not all the time. He's got multiple stop clicks. Yeah, it's a thing. You keep going with it. Colossal stamina with him. Yeah, I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to say it's a bad idea. I'm just going to say it's not the direction I would go. Is kind of where I was pointing my conversation there. But try it. It could be fun. And I might be wrong. I often am. Otherwise, I'd win worlds more often. Or by more often, I mean at all.
Yeah, the other Hulk I was thinking of, it came from the Mighty Thor set. It's like, top dial is 145, and or 100 points, and it has like the Asgardian armor,
Oh, I know the one you're talking about. Yeah, he was used temporarily there towards the end as of the Avengers ID cards as a call-in. I remember by Daniel Powell. 145 points at top dial. When Hulk takes damage from an attack, give him a number of rage tokens equal to the damage taken -1. Modify Hulk's combat values except range by +X, where X is the number of rage tokens. You see my problem I have with that already. Your +X is +1 at best.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it was the only heavy hitter that came to mind when you first said he's gonna need some help with some other people that hit hard like at this Hulk. 5. Yeah, he's got 4 up till there's so many into his dial there so he's a pretty big heavy hitter that always worked for me in games.
Mm-hmm. The thing I do like about this Hulk is he just walks through lines of Colossals pretty hardcore. Because of that charge ability. When Hulk uses it, he can use it with improved movement. It destroys blocking, and after resolutions, may make a close attack targeting each character that has a giant damage or colossal damage symbol he moved through, regardless of adjacency. Hit characters or dealt 3 penetrating damage instead. So you charge, move through all those dudes, or move through a couple colossals, attack the last one, and the first 2, you make extra attacks that deal 3 penetrating damage to. As long as you can nail a hit with a 12 attack. What colossal retaliators? And then you're still making your normal charge attack at the end of it, right? So, or sorry, before that. So you charge a dude, you attack the dude, and then after resolutions, you're making a close attack targeting each character that you walked through, which will be giants or colossals. I like that idea. I like that idea a lot. All right. So Drew had one more before he left, and he threw it in the Discord. How great is that Uncommon Tempest? The free water smoke and potential free token. I think myself and Tom talked about him at length in Meta Lab, and I really like him as an enabler for water-based Atlantis teams, for sure. All right, Mike.
All right, so now we get to the map portion of the Patreon questions. Okay, I promise this is the last question in the Mr. Terrific realm. So then, essentially, if he's going to need help, and if I can't find enough scientists or whatever like that, I should pretty much, if I'm going to be playing him, I should be thinking along the lines of Mixoplick, you're instantly giving up any potential map rolls, and stuff like that. So if should I continue or thinking along the strategy lines of okay, if I'm going to build teams around him then I don't really need the map roll, or how exactly would that work?
The map can be a massive protection for him in the right case. There's a few examples. The underground map, you can hide behind walls. There's lots of little doorways and alcoves that you can hide him in, and he'll be relatively safe. Or the WizKid's office, hide him behind one of the walls and just out of sight, out of mind, not have to worry about him too much. He doesn't have stealth. I was thinking you could use Wakanda, but that's not going to do the same thing. The thing that I wanted to do. I think those two, like maps with physical walls blocking him, would be your best hope. But if you're giving up on the idea of map in general, you need to make sure wherever he is safe. I think even a Muck Time as like a wide open map does have enough blocking to keep him in a relatively safe space that might cause your opponent to have to overstretch to get to him. So I think that is a case, or there's a case to be made for that. And yeah, those are the directions I would go as far as maps for him. Like anywhere where he can protect himself with blocking or just safely place himself that forces an overreach would go a long way. Excuse me.
Is the Rainbow Bridge line off blocking terrain, or is it like?
I feel like the Rainbow Bridge opens him up to Professor X shenanigans.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of like, oh, you want to go for a walk? How about you go for a walk off the Rainbow Bridge? You got to be careful of stuff like that. If anybody can manipulate, because Professor X is still a consideration, just on the ID card alone and the rare one existing who doesn't need to draw a line of fire and just mind controls and says, "Let's go for a walk." I think that's worth paying attention to, for the most part.
Okay, continuing on the list, I'm trying because I'm trying to do a lot better with my strategies and on maps and stuff like that. And unfortunately, my trip out to West Virginia last time didn't quite work out as well as I had hoped, because in my second round I wound up playing in the arena, the Gladiator Arena map. And I was trying to get to the other guys' team, trying to get there as quick as I possibly could before they can get me. And I found myself stopped in the middle of the quote unquote kill box type of thing, and so what do you think? Is there a ways of getting out of there quickly? Or is there really any quick strategy or maneuvering where the most of the map is already cut off like that? If nobody's going to go in the arena portion like that, you're pretty much essentially playing along that one side there, and it's all just going to bunch up thing. Is there any safe strategies of trying to at least cut across that whole arena section? Or I guess because speedsters can't carry that now they can't, but maybe they will in the future. But how do I get through that and not have to just worry about that one little edge, 2 or 3 blocks right there?
I just fight in the small space, to be honest. I think I know the map you're talking about, where there's a big open space in the middle, and there's a lot of elevated just on the outside of it. And I played that one at the Rebirth release event, and that map actually worked out for me, because one of the keys to that map is that if you go in the wide open, you basically get your face blown off by range attacks. That's just gonna happen. If you keep it to the tighter areas, if they have a numbers advantage or a certain advantage over you, you can mitigate that enough and take that away, because it's the whole 300 Sparta defend against the Persians sort of situation. It's if they have more than you and you take it to that small part of the map, then they can only fight with so much before they start realizing, well, I'm losing one guy at a time, and that one guy isn't really doing enough. Now nowadays there's things like giants and colossals that can reach over that stuff and make all of that moot. You got to pay attention to that. But if you're going to be trying to go to the low ground, you have to not care about terrain, because all you have to be is 2 squares away from that edge, and you are completely safe from range attacks for the most part, unless you have a giant or somebody that ignores elevated terrain. So I guess what I'm trying to say is not so much that you want to learn a way around a specific thing, but you have to learn how to fight in the way that the map kind of forces it. It's like if I was to go into the underground cavern and somebody's going to be like, well, how do I get rid of all this blocking terrain? Well, you have a couple turns of attacking to do it best. Or you have somebody who ignores blocking and breaks through it to walk through it, like a skyscraper Wonder Woman. Or a Tri-Sentinel. Those are your best options to help mitigate that problem. And even then, it's not an efficient way to deal with the problem of the map. What you have to do is you have to take your team and you have to say, how do I fight with my team here that isn't going to immediately get my face shot in? And that's a lesson that you'll learn the hard way sometimes. And then other times once you've learned it the hard way, you kind of look and go, okay, maybe I should avoid that particular strategy and move on to the next thing. And I think in your case, you kind of want to keep it in the stands, keep it in the elevated terrain, so as to limit a certain, unless if you have a long range, you kind of need to spread out and watch your lines fire. I think aside from that, when I played against, like one team I played against on that map was a close formation team with Steel, who was giving guys +1 defense when adjacent to them, and some of them had combat reflexes. It's just like, oh, what am I doing here? What is this? It was not easy to deal with. I ended up actually losing that game. I did not do well because I went full force with my Superboy every time in that tournament. I was not playing to my best. So it's less about the answer as much as it is the answer to your team or for your team in this map case, and in every map case for that matter. It's, if you're looking to most maps that you like, once you get an understanding from them, you know what to look for or what exists in that map without even having to open it up. So you got to think to yourself, okay, well, how is my team going to deal in, and like as an example, Wakanda, right? Wakanda is a wide open, and I'm talking old school Wakanda. So it's a wide open map with a lot of hindering terrain in it. So how can you use that? Do you ignore hindering for movement? Great. You stand in there because you're going to get +2 defense because it's an awesome thing. I just realized all of my pop figures are laying down, face down. They're getting about as drunk as I was last night. Yeah, so you need to know how, not so much what works on that map, but what works for your team on that map. And that's the answer you're looking for. And I hope it's one that can help without giving a direct answer, because I'm really bad at giving direct answers a lot of times. You gotta teach them to learn, not teach them to look for an answer. You know what I mean?
Alrighty, so moving on here to I was trying to think learn and play more of a swarm strategy, and I know that you're very good at it. And how much of how many pieces should I commit to? I pretty much understand the concept of swarm strategy, but just how much should I commit to on a team, moving it all in one direction like that? So if I see one target I want to hit first, I want to how many pieces should I get around that one first target? like it. And with the way I've always played, like I've always been fearful that Force Blast or that like old Punisher frag grenade, where hey, just hit one, one will get you all of them. That's what my dad used to say, like, hey, one grenade will get you all. So I've never. That's why I've always shied away from swarm teams and stuff like that. Get bunch them all up in one group like that. But so kind of explain a little bit how swarm teams work with surrounding one target.
Okay. First of all, I get too much credit for my playing of swarm teams. I play them. I'm not the best at them, but when people see I have built a swarm team, they know I have built that team. Stupid Facebook messages. I gotta be careful of that. Okay, cool. I'm glad I went and checked that. Sorry, completely distracted. So one thing you have to understand about a swarm team is everything is overcommitting. You are overcommitting with everything because you have lots to overcommit with. And you have lots to commit to the next problem with as well. I am hoping, if you're asking me about a swarm team, it's because your swarm team does not start with 11 plus characters, but rather starts with 4 or 5 and then creates 11 plus, because that's kind of the most effective one. But from there, you kind of have to be able to rebuild as well. So a couple examples of the modern era bystander making swarm effectiveness. Devil Dinosaur until July. He makes 3 guys at a time, and then when those 3 guys are dead, he makes another different 3 guys, and so on and so forth until he's out of 3 guys to make. Then you're wishing he was making you 5 guys because you're hungry. You have the new Iron Man, who starts with 2 dudes, can make a 3rd, and if you've paid 5 points for a map, could possibly start with 2 dudes and make one of 4 other dudes on a random dice roll. Or if you lose the map roll, he starts with 3 dudes and makes a 4th dude. But then as you lose dudes, one of those won't be able to be remade, but the other 3 will be able to be remade. Stegron, who makes 3 dinosaurs at once, and then when one of them dies, he makes another one, and so on and so forth. Or there's Isaac, who makes a dude, makes another dude, and then makes a dude. Or makes a dude, that dude dies, makes that dude again, that dude dies, makes that dude again. Right? The most important part is recursion on it. And that is, you want your swarm attackers to be expendable but reusable. And that's one of the strengths of a lot of these bystander makers, is especially the ones I've been playing. Like I'll play the Iron Man a lot lately. I'll play Stegron, and I will play Isaac as soon as a chance is available and the Vulture is gone out of my life, or they fix it. I don't know. I don't think either's going to happen. I'm on a bystander break for a while. But once I have these guys on the board and making guys and then remaking the guys, I am committing the bystanders, because bystanders are a 0-point loss if you lose them. So if I commit 12 bystanders to an attack and they blow them all up, I can make. I'm hoping I have the resources to make 12 more. I'm of course speaking in exaggerated terms, as I always do. So if I commit 3 or 4 bystanders and the energy explodes as 3 or 4 bystanders, hopefully by the next turn I get at least 50 to 75% of all of that back. And that's the key with the modern swarm, is the modern swarm rebuilds itself, dies, comes back again. And that's what you want to be able to do. Pulse wave and energy explosion will always be problems for these teams because of the wide-reaching effects. But Pulse Wave is less effective when it attacks multiple guys. If it's bystanders, you're going to lose them. If it's multiple guys with multiple clicks, then okay, bink, 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 we all take one. Let's keep fighting, guys. Let's go. So the modern swarm is a bystander focused, just throw guys at dudes. And then there's other ways you can approach the strategy from there, but I think that's kind of where I go with the Swarm, is make sure what you're about to lose you're okay with. Because Swarms with bystanders, you lose no points when you lose those bystanders. Cool, whatever. You might have some kind of negative effect like Tony Stark has. But the Swarm as characters, you have to, in your body, just kind of sit back and go, I'm going to lose almost everything, but I'm going to kill almost everything as well. And that's kind of that mindset you have to go in with, like, yeah, grenades are going to kill a bunch of your team. So make sure one grenade only kills enough of your team to not be a problem. If you're going to commit to a point where it's like one energy explosion, one pulse wave is going to murder you, you better hope you're scoring like 200 points off of that. And just making sure that it happens. So threat assessment is super important on a Swarm team. What is the biggest threat, and how can I minimize the losses to me but maximize the points gained from it, right? So one of the things that was fun about my scientist team is that those dinosaurs have terrible attack, but I was attacking with them so frequently, and when they do hit, your opponent goes, oh, they do how much damage? So that's kind of the effect I was going for with that. And that worked out for me mostly okay. So meter your targets, make sure you commit correctly, and make sure where you commit you're spaced out properly, because spacing is it's the mind killer. And to be brutally honest, I've been lucky. I've come across maybe one character with energy explosion ever since I've started playing these bystanders ever, and he missed his attack. And I was like, that's the best feeling in the world. It's like, I'm going to energy explode. Okay. I attack. You missed. I'm okay. Best feeling. It's the equivalent of taking a big old poop. So, proper threat assessment, proper cost analysis, and you're good to go. But
Okay.
also remember, sorry, one last thing, is that everything isn't overcommitting. So when you think you're overcommitting, you should be.
Yeah, one of the inspirations to the team that I want to try with a Swarm strategy is that I think a couple of weeks ago I brought up the Gen X team with the I guess they all have their power, move up to 5 squares and make a close attack. Well, that's pretty much a Swarm team strategy right there. If they all have this one moves up 5 squares, makes attack. This one makes follows in right behind it, but it makes an attack like that. So I'm sorry, there was supposed to be a question in there. All right, moving right along. Okay, so I guess we covered most of the the gems and the gauntlet stuff coming out there. Should I look at it a lot like the way we used to do the Green Lantern constructs? They're just given powers to pieces that might need it, right? Or should I start investing in those pieces into the team, or save it for the pieces that they were meant to, like the Venom, or the Captain America that has gives it free, or it puts it on your team for free, or the Venom that has the symbiote for free as long as that piece is there. Should I start investing in these weapons and things and looking at to improve my forces, or maybe or would they work better with the pieces that they were designed for?
9 times out of 10 when they give these items to characters, they're not the greatest with them. Like an example, Mjolnir with that Thor. That Thor is okay, but he's not who you want to have Mjolnir on. Let's not kid ourselves. We want Mjolnir on a Unimind or a Star Fox. Like we
Right.
want
Yeah,
either a
that's just
massive range with a close attack, or I want a flurry at 8 range away. Like I want to do disgusting things with that item, right? And a lot of the times the characters that come with it, they're great in sealed, and they work with it in sealed. But when you get into the constructed world, they just kind of they. Jay says it best. They're too balanced. You gotta unbalance that. You gotta take that balance away. So like, now that's not to say that these characters are necessarily bad. Again, it's not. It's bad versus good, like or it's good versus good. And like bad is Thanagarians. Never forgive them. I will never forgive Thanagarians for what they are. So, and the long and the short of it, the items I'm already starting to look at and say, who do I want to put this on that isn't the guy that it comes with? And that's always the first question I ask, because a lot of times that answer is actually pretty obvious. You know what I mean? Like, the Space Gem. And I don't remember who comes with the Space Gem. It's either the Iron Man or the Titania, or neither. I don't know. But that one, I want to put on a low point character who's got a ridiculously high movement, and I want him to carry guys on my team. I don't know if it was you, but a lot of people talked to me about that Common Flash. Well, I found his purpose. You give him a Space Gem, he carries 2 dudes with a 15 movement, which goes down to 13 shocks with phasing teleport and 19 defense. Who sees a problem with this? And then once you're done carrying, the next thing you do is you hypersonic attack somebody. If you get a 10, you shove them over somewhere or like next to whoever you want to do your murdering for you, right? And like I've already said a character name who most certainly is not coming with the Space Gem. Because I don't think the Flash is coming with a Space Gem. Let's not kid ourselves, right? So I feel like that is a situation where we kind of look at it and go, I've already found a dude I might actually consider using the Space Gem on that most certainly will not come with it. So whoever is coming with the Space Gem now has to exceed that Flash as an option in my brain, right? Or in a certain degree of my brain. So like once you see these items and you start to min-max the possibilities, if you're aware of or not aware of who it comes with, then you kind of affix yourself your barrier. You're changing the bar, and it's like if you are the bar, you need to be the bar, and you get to exceed the bar to catch the mind. And I think that is the mindset if you're looking at an item and say, how do I maximize the effectiveness of the item without looking at who comes with it, and say, who do I want to put that on? Now, does the person that this comes with do better for similar or less points? Yeah, I think that's probably the way I would explain that as best. So sometimes the dude that comes with the item, perfectly fine to have with the item. Like Stormbreaker, perfectly okay to have with Beta Ray Bill, right? Because Beta Ray Bill is already good on his own and he just happens to come with it. And that's another thing. It's like if the character is good on their own and happy to use them, then yeah, by all means, use them in that way. I'm always the worst at opening super chats. Young Quizzy it says have a nice day, sir, but I don't see the question. I'm wondering if we're going to be running into this problem a lot. Just give me a second. All right. Anyway, so yeah, that is how I would approach that in that manner, or that thought process. So find your bar and then see if whatever it is good enough to exceed that bar. And if they happen to come with the object and the character is good enough, give them the object. Why not? Nothing wrong with that.
All right, down the home stretch here. Last 2 questions I usually leave for kind of fun. Sorry I didn't ask it earlier, but did you get to see Endgame, and what did you think? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Myself and Amber saw it yesterday, and I give it one snapping thumbs up. Where'd everybody go?
Well, you should have gone for the head. All right. So, and while I'm sitting here, I kind of want to think of. Didn't we start? We as the patrons. I know I really want to say thank you to the channel, and you've always been kind to me. And I want to say the Alpha Patron started, I guess, in July. Was that June or July that you started the Patron?
It was July or August, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I guess now that we're already in May, I guess maybe we should do something to commemorate another patron anniversary or something like that, or the anniversary of the channel.
I was thinking about doing something. We still have a couple months. I gotta find out when. I think there might be something on Patreon. It's like, hey, this is when you started, or how long you've had this Patreon set up for, in the back end, stats or something like that. I'll take a look into that, see how we're doing, and then to kind of commemorate the anniversary, as it were, we'll do some kind of neat little thing. If I can't come up with it, I'll just find out how long you've been a patron. That's how long we've had the Patreon for. Mm-hmm. I can't. I'm always hard pressed to think about what we would do for this, and I kind of want to do something weird, not necessarily hero clicky, like as just an example of a joke idea or an idea. If we could get all of us in a group of Roll20 and play Dungeons and Dragons instead of HeroClix, I think that would be like humorous, but something along those lines, or just play like do something that is different. I think would be a lot of fun, or we just do something HeroClix. Right? I haven't come up with. I'm very bad at this kind of stuff, to be honest. Like coming up with the anniversary ideas and stuff like that. But we'll come up with something for you guys for sure. It's been a number of years of Patreon. You guys have helped us out a lot and keep the channel lights on. So for sure, we're going to do something to commemorate another year of that. Especially considering we've gone from like we were doing pretty well, and then we had to kind of cut down a lot on the channel, so we dropped a lot of patrons, and then we kind of been slowly getting our way back towards that glory. Of course, we still don't have like the ability or time to plan out games every week necessarily. We might try to do something like that and bring it back, but we also have to focus our own practicing. We've lost a lot of our own practice time, so over time. Anyway, I'm in nonsense history of things. The truth of the matter is, we're bad at coming up with these ideas, but now that we've got our attention, we've got at minimum a month or two to figure out what we'll do, and we will present it, I'm sure, on the Patron Discord. Anybody who is a Patreon and isn't on our Patron Discord, please check your thank you email. I'm pretty sure we put the link in there. If not, send us a message in our Patreon inbox so that we can make sure we get you that thing. Young Quizzy, if you had a question in your super chat, I can't see it, so holler at me if you did have a question, and I will answer it. Yeah, so we'll come up with something fun, something neat, something unique, something that involves all of us kind of doing something as a big old patron family. What's the biggest video game we can get all of us in that costs everybody $0? I am not playing Fortnite. I'm just going to stop that right now. Stop that idea. Bad idea. No.
Roblox?
What's that?
Roblox?
Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
I'll log in under my daughter's account. Anything we can get a big group of people in anyway, and just kind of do something. We'll do it. We'll do it. Patriversary? We call it the Patriversary anniversary on?
Special. How about special action tokens that commemorate?
think I could do that. I think I can come up with a anniversary action tokens for that one. I think we don't have very many extra expenses coming up soon, so we can do that. Ah, man, I'm sitting on a bunch of action tokens we need to mail out. We've been really bad about getting stamps for that. Yeah. All right. Anything else?
No, that's it pretty much. I got I come prepared with a list, and that's it.
Excellent. All right. Then on that note, I want to thank Mike. I want to thank our patron. Thanks, Young Quizzy, who dropped a super patron in the chat. I want a super chat in the chat. Everybody in the Patreon in the Patreon Discord. If you want to support us, check us out at patreon.com/marriedwithclicks. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Metal Lab. It's going to be a long one. We got a lot of previews to talk about this week. Holy smokes, did Tuesday ever flood us. So brace yourselves tomorrow. And we'll see how that all turns out. Mike, again, thank you very much. Thank you guys. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.